Nicolás Maduro's story does not begin with guns, cocaine, or indictments. It begins with a steering wheel. In the 1980s, he drove a public bus through the crowded streets of Caracas, listening to passengers complain about poverty, corruption, and a political system that had failed them for generations. He memorized their anger. He learned how to speak their language, and most importantly, he learned how power could be built not from wealth, but from grievance. By the time Venezuela entered the 1990s, Maduro had transitioned from bus driver to union organizer, then to a familiar face within the country's growing socialist movement. His loyalty to Hugo Chavez was absolute. While others competed for attention, Maduro stayed close, quiet, dependable. When Chavez seized the presidency, Maduro followed him into government like a shadow, rewarded not for charisma, but for obedience. When Chavez died in 2013, Maduro inherited more than a presidency. He inherited a fragile illusion. Venezuela appeared rich on paper, sitting atop the largest proven oil reserves on earth. But behind the curtain, corruption had hollowed out institutions, and loyalty was purchased through money, fear, or both. Maduro won the election narrowly amid accusations of fraud, and from the first day, his authority was contested. What followed was economic collapse on a historic scale. Hyperinflation erased savings overnight. Entire salaries became worthless within weeks. Hospitals lost electricity. Supermarkets emptied. Millions fled across borders on foot. And yet, according to U.S. investigators, another economy was quietly thriving, one that did not rely on oil, but on cocaine. Whispers had circulated for decades about Venezuelan generals protecting drug shipments. At first, it was dismissed as rumor, then as coincidence. But intelligence analysts noticed patterns. Planes departing Colombia would vanish from radar as they crossed Venezuelan airspace, only to reappear near Central America. Ports with little civilian traffic suddenly became transit hubs. Entire military units rotated through regions known for trafficking. This shadow system had a name: the Cartel of the Suns. It wasn't a cartel in the traditional sense. There was no single logo, no kingpin issuing orders from a jungle compound. Instead, it functioned like a parasite within the state. Officers, generals, intelligence chiefs, each controlling a piece of the root. Protection was traded for profit. Silence was enforced through fear. According to later indictments, Nicolás Maduro was not merely aware of this system, he allegedly relied on it. As oil revenues fell, loyalty within the military became expensive. Prosecutors would later argue that drug money filled the gap. Cocaine shipments moved north, profits flowed back, and those profits were used to maintain control at home. For years, the accusations remained just that, accusations. Maduro dismissed them as American propaganda, claiming the U.S. wanted Venezuela's oil. Many outside observers were unsure what to believe, but then, in 2015, something happened that changed the tone of the story entirely. 2 young men were arrested in Haiti during a DEA sting operation. They were caught attempting to smuggle nearly 800 kilograms of cocaine into the United States. On the surface, it looked like a routine bust, but the names stunned investigators. They were Efraín Campo Flores and Francisco Flores de Freitas, the nephews of Maduro's wife, Celia Flores. The recordings would later become infamous. The men bragged openly about their family ties, claiming protection from the highest levels of government. They spoke casually, about using presidential resources. They did not behave like traffickers worried about consequences. They behaved like men who believed consequences did not apply to them. They were convicted in U.S. court and sentenced to 18 years in prison. For prosecutors, it was no longer theoretical. The drug trade had reached into the presidential palace itself. If you're following this story and want more deep dive international true crime like this is your moment to subscribe to StorySphere. These are not just stories, they're real-world power struggles with global consequences. By the late 2010s, U.S. intelligence agencies had amassed years of evidence: wiretaps, informants, flight logs, financial records. Then, in March 2020, the Department of Justice made a move unlike anything before it. They indicted Nicolás Maduro. The charges were unprecedented: narco-terrorism, conspiracy with Colombia's FARC guerrillas, using cocaine as a weapon against the United States. The allegations described a 20-year plot involving hundreds of tons of cocaine annually, protected by military force and paid for with blood and intimidation. A multi-million-dollar bounty was placed on Maduro's head. Still, he remained in power. Still, he held rallies. Still, he mocked Washington from behind bulletproof glass. But the story was no longer about whether accusations existed. It was about how long they could be ignored. And then came the first twist, one almost no one saw coming. As the world focused on sanctions and speeches, something far more dangerous was happening quietly behind the scenes. The Cartel of the Suns, according to later intelligence assessments, was no longer just a revenue stream. It had become the regime's backbone. Military promotions were allegedly tied to trafficking routes. Intelligence positions controlled airports and radar systems. Loyalty was rewarded not with ideology, but with access. The line between government and organized crime blurred until it became meaningless. Inside Venezuela, dissent grew. Protests erupted. Opposition leaders vanished or were arrested. Some were later found dead. Prosecutors would eventually claim these actions were financed and enforced using drug profits. Cocaine turned into political control. Meanwhile, international pressure intensified. The U.S. expanded maritime interdictions, seizing vessels in the Caribbean. European banks froze accounts. Intelligence agencies tracked increased cocaine flows through Venezuela, even as the country's legitimate economy collapsed further. Then came the disputed 2024 election. Maduro declared victory. Much of the world rejected the result. Protests exploded across the country, met with military force. According to U.S. intelligence later cited in court filings, cocaine shipments surged in the months that followed. Why? Because loyalty was cracking. Military officers demanded payment. Drug routes became bargaining chips. And for the first time, intelligence suggested that factions within the Cartel of the Suns were turning on each other. This is where the second twist emerges. According to later reports, U.S. agencies received unexpected cooperation, not from opposition politicians, but from insiders, people who had benefited from the system, now fearing they would be sacrificed to protect those at the top. Information poured in: safe house locations, security schedules, command structures. By late 2025, U.S. officials believed they had something they had never had before: real-time, actionable intelligence on Nicolás Maduro's movements. What followed was planning on a scale rarely seen outside wartime. Naval assets repositioned quietly, surveillance increased. Diplomatic language softened publicly, while privately, preparations accelerated. The goal, according to U.S. officials, was not assassination. It was capture, and capture meant something radical. For decades, the idea of arresting a sitting head of state accused of narco-terrorism had been unthinkable. But officials argued that this was no longer politics. It was organized crime operating behind a flag. In the early hours of January 3rd, 2026, Caracas was asleep. Then the city shook. Explosions echoed across key military installations. Radar systems failed. Communication networks went dark. U.S. forces struck from air, sea, and land in a synchronized operation designed to last hours, not days. According to official U.S. statements later reported globally, elite units moved on high-value targets, including locations tied directly to Maduro's security apparatus. Inside one secured compound, the final act of a decades-long investigation unfolded. Nicolás Maduro was taken alive, so was his wife, Celia Flores. The announcement stunned the world. Within hours, images circulated of U.S. naval vessels in the Caribbean. Officials stated that the captives were transferred to American custody and flown out of the country. Updated indictments were unsealed, naming new charges and detailing alleged crimes never before made public. Among them, direct authorization of drug shipments, bribe networks spanning multiple countries, and violent enforcement against rivals, all funded by narcotics revenue. World leaders reacted with outrage, shock, or cautious approval. Inside Venezuela, the silence was deafening. For the first time in years, Maduro was gone, but the third twist was already forming, because capturing a man does not dismantle a system, and systems, especially criminal ones, do not disappear quietly. As Maduro was transported toward the United States, a question haunted intelligence analysts. Had they removed the head or merely exposed the body? Documents unsealed after the capture painted a more complicated picture. The Cartel of the Suns, prosecutors now argued, had never been a single organization. It was a web. And while Maduro allegedly sat at its center, many strands remained intact. Some generals vanished. Others pledged cooperation. A few attempted to flee the country. Borders tightened. Assets froze. But chaos spread faster than order. Inside Venezuela, power vacuums formed overnight. Local commanders asserted control over regions. Smuggling routes fractured. Rival groups fought for dominance.